Regularly scheduled meeting for the Village at Tinley Park Plan Commission to order. This meeting is being conducted pursuant to Governor Pritzker's Disaster Proclamation and Public Act 101-0640, which amends requirements of the Open Meetings Act due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Although remote attendance is an option for Plan Commission board members, all are present in person. But please note, we do have petitioners and others on the line that are either called in or are anticipated to call in. And as long as we have the audio confirmed being good,
yep,
we could proceed then. So at this time, if we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. At this time, we'll do the roll call. Lori, if you can please take the roll call.
Commissioner Manning?
Present.
Commissioner Gatto? Commissioner West? Commissioner Gaskill?
Present.
Commissioner Vick?
Here.
Commissioner Lucido?
Present.
Chairman Gray?
Present. Okay, we have a quorum. At this time, I'll go to staff for any communications.
sure. Thanks, Chairman. I'll just note today, Commissioner Marianne Aitchison put in her resignation. She has some work conflicts, so she thought it was better to step down than be absent a bunch of meetings. So I just want to thank her for her year plus, I think, of service, or a couple of years of service here for the commission and for the citizens of Tinley Park. So that's why she wasn't in the roll call. But
Okay. Excellent, yes, and I echo those sentiments about the time Marianne put into the commission. So it is appreciated, and she will be missed. At this time, we'll move to approval of minutes. We have two meeting minutes to approve. So let's first begin with the approval of the Special Plan Commission meeting minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the May 27, 2021 meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Manny, seconded by Commissioner Gaskell. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, the motion is carried. We'll move on to the approval of the second meeting minutes of the regularly scheduled Plan Commission meeting for June 3rd, 2021. So may I have a motion to approve the minutes of the June 3rd, 2021 meeting?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Vick, seconded by Commissioner Lasciuto. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion is carried. The first and only item on today's agenda is a public hearing to consider recommending the village board grant Petros Dramonis on behalf of 163rd and Harlem LLC a special use permit for a substantial deviation from the Park Place planned unit development and plat of subdivision / plat of vacation for their 24.2 acre property located at 16300 Harlem Avenue, the former Super Kmart property. The proposed development is in Phase 2 of a 3-phase project. Phase 2 includes the construction of an approximate 88,608 square feet Pete's Fresh Market, PFM, store, approximately 51,831 square feet of inline retail tenant space north of the grocery store, and approximate 12,400 square feet expansion of the warehouse and expansion of the existing dock on the south side of the warehouse building, and the addition of a new dock area south of the warehouse addition. This review will include site and architectural plan review. May I have a motion to open the public hearing at this time?
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Gaskell, seconded by Commissioner Manny. All those in favor of opening the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, hearing none, the motion is carried. I have received the certificate of public hearing notice being published in a local newspaper. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter will be sworn in to speak, but after the staff's presentation. So staff, at this time, if you can proceed with your presentation.
Thanks, Chairman. As you noted, this is the public hearing with the workshop happening on May 27th. Paula went into pretty great detail there. We have obviously some public here, and this is the public hearing, so we'll be going back through some of it. But I'll keep some of the historical and background stuff out of it, since that doesn't really pertain to exactly what they're proposing here today. And I'll tend to try and focus a little bit more on the site plan and their layout there. This is a request for the special use permit for the substantial deviation of the PUD. Site plan approval, since they're adding a building and changing the site layout, as well as new architectural approval for the new building, and then a plat approval as well for this. For everybody's reference point, this is the old Super Kmart site on Harlem Avenue at 6300 Harlem Avenue. I think most people know where that's at. It's a pretty large lot here, and it includes some kind of outlet type parcels, as well as the area that is near the old Aldi as well. This was originally approved as a PUD in 1989. The PUD looked much different from what's out there today. It really had a vision of a golf course and some movie theaters, but it's obviously changed since that time, as well as the residential that's to the west. So this was all kind of envisioned kind of at the same time. In 1993 is when kind of the first amendment to this came in, and that was for the Aldi store right after the Pace warehouse, which is now Sam's Club, was constructed. And then a couple years later in 1995 is when the Kmart store was approved, and that had moved from their location on 159th Street that you guys just did the floor and decor redevelopment for. They moved over here in 1995, 96 to for their Super Kmart. So that's when most of the perimeter fencing, the landscape berms, the parking lot improvements, that the majority of what you're doing today was constructed around that 1995 to 1996. Altogether, this is 24.2 acres across that's going to be developed over the course of 3 phases. So phase 1 already completed with a warehouse distribution aspect moving into the old Kmart. Phase 2 being what's kind of before you today with the new Pete's, and then phase 3 being kind of the outlet development, as well as some offices on the warehouse that would come in during some later phases. So again, phase 2 has the 88,608 square foot Pete's Fresh Market, and then 51,831 square foot of kind of attached inline retail to that as well. So altogether, over 130, close to 140,000 square feet of new commercial space here. This also includes a 12,400 square foot expansion of the warehouse space, the old Super Kmart building, an expansion of the existing dock on the south side of that warehouse building to accommodate some additional trucks and some truck movements in the back, so that way there's not any trucks waiting to get serviced in there. For the warehouse building, they did make quite an improvement, I think, just by maintaining that building and painting the exterior. They got kind of rid of it, no longer looks straight up like an old Super Kmart with the orange and blue. They give it a little more of a neutral color that kind of blends in, matches the Sam's Club warehouse, and this kind of ties into their Pete's Fresh Market building that they're proposing as well. From a zoning perspective, it is zoned B3. It's in that Park Place planned unit development that was approved. To the north of this is the Park Center Plaza PUD, and then to the south of this, as well, is pretty much a detention pond for the majority of this development, which is the Park Place PUD. To the west of this is residential duplexes that are zoned R6, and were, again, originally kind of part of this concept of this area with the duplexes or townhomes were kind of the original concept to the west of this. To the east of this is a medical office building, as well as the Tinley Park Plaza Shopping Center, the Brixmore development, that is the new Burlington and Grocer going into that. That's currently under construction on the other side of Harlem. To the south of this is also a parcel that is actually unincorporated and undeveloped. It's operated by the Tinley Park Park District, and they have a frisbee golf and dog park there as well. So the site plan is kind of where we're going to focus our time on here. There's been kind of several revisions to this made, and particularly since phase one came before with a concept plan of what they were planning to kind of do with this site. Now with them moving towards kind of final design and final phasing, they've made some changes, some of that in response to the concerns that came up as part of that with noise, trucks, truck routing. So they've moved that, particularly they've moved the grocery store further east on this property and added in essentially a parking lot and landscaping to kind of help move those docks as far away from the residential as they can, as well as add in, again, that additional kind of landscape buffer that will be there with the parking lot. The docks are proposed at 130 feet from the property line, so it's 130 feet from the building, or from the property line to those docks, and then that principal building's about 175 feet from the property line. So the new plan works to consolidate the retail to the north of the grocery store. So they've moved away from essentially adding retail to around that warehouse building, and instead moving that retail over to just kind of this one commercial hub that they're going to have here. But they've also planned for up to 4 potential outlets along Harlem Avenue there. So there could be up to 4, or they could combine those potentially into 2 as well, and they've been marketing those for retail opportunities along Harlem. One of the big keys here is improved pedestrian access through the site. And all the comments recommended by staff regarding sidewalks and the landscape buffers between vehicle drive aisles and pedestrian ways were incorporated into this. So they've kind of created some good pedestrian flow from Harlem all the way to the store, as well as kind of through the parking lot and in front of the stores as well. They've added crosswalks as well whenever it crosses a drive aisle, so you kind of have 3 different points that you could come into this and create a little bit more of a walkable, nice area, as well as sidewalks along Harlem Avenue as well that would connect. From a access and circulation standpoint, there's 4 access points that really would tie in here. 3 of them are on their property, and then there's the other one that's a little further down. The red ones here, I believe, are full access points, but actually the furthest one north, or the furthest one on the left, is a lighted intersection as well. And then the one that's furthest south is just a right-in, right-out there that would serve primarily for truck, the rear truck access to the back of their warehouse space. The primary access point for this is that 163rd Street, the second one, in from the right side of this. The Red Star would kind of be their main access point for both the store, as well as an exit point for the trucks that want to go northbound on Harlem Avenue. And the parking perspective of this, we talked about it at the workshop. There wasn't too many concerns there with the parking. They have a total about of 4.7 spaces per 1,000 square feet on the retail aspect. And that's really in line, kind of similar to what they've provided at their other stores. That works pretty well for them. It's also what we've similarly approved at the Tinley Park Plaza across the street. So it's parking that kind of works for them. They know their business a little bit more. Our zoning code does require 6.5 spaces per 1,000 square feet, but that's a fairly dated requirement from the 70s that's really kind of overparked some places. So we think they've found a good fit here with the 4.7 per 1,000 for phases 1 and 2 of this project that would accommodate their employees at the warehouse, the retail store, as well as the additional commercial space there. So that was kind of our first open item. There wasn't too many concerns there in terms of breaking down the parking aspects on this. From the delivery operations, there's going to be 5 docks on the south side of the warehouse, or there is 5 docks. They'd be doing an additional 3 docks added on the west side of the existing dock, and then another dock area that's going to be added to the south side as well. That just allows them to have the trucks parked there and ready to go instead of kind of parked around the site or around the back in there and then waiting to be filled up or unfilled from there. They can have all of them kind of there waiting. There is a proposed truck cab parking area, though, that would be on the south side of the warehouse, and there's room for up to 12 cabs to be parked there. There is a 4-foot screen wall that will be constructed on the east side of this area, so that way it'll block any views from Harlem Avenue. This area is kind of, this will be their main kind of truck operation here, and it works out fairly well that this immediately adjacent to this is a wetland detention area, and that this is kind of the area furthest away from the residential. So where most of the trucks are going to come and go are really on the south side of the warehouse building. In terms of the truck movements for the commercial space, there's about 162 feet to the homes, where I think Sam's is a lot closer. That's close to about 88 feet. So this will be 162 feet on the grocery store, and those have a lot less truck movements than this warehouse will. So they're looking at about 10 to 12 total truck movements per day. Only about 5 semi-truck deliveries, and then 5 to 7 kind of smaller panel trucks moving to the main Pete's grocery store docks here. So kind of to look at what their estimates are, we also looked at some trip generation aspects that are in the engineering world, and those averaged about a suburban store averages about 14 trucks per day in any range. So that falls kind of in there. They're thinking 10 to 12, where the estimates have 14 trucks per day. So phase 1 approvals also noted that about that 10 to 12 truck movements per day there in the back of this. And again, their goal, kind of listening to some of those concerns, was can they get the building a little bit further away from the residential and put some distance there, as well as some additional landscaping. So they've added the 162-foot distance between those docks and the residential. They've also kind of beefed up the berm landscaping that's back there. And then they've also added an additional kind of row of landscaping that's on the other side of the parking lot. So adding landscaping to what's already there, adding another kind of row of landscaping, as well as working to maintain and replace the fence that's at the rear of the property line there. And the views here are pretty good for the overnight parking in terms of where they've planned those to be. As you can kind of see even from these street view aspects, it's kind of tucked behind the building. And there wasn't too many concerns there with the workshop where they were proposing those. And again, they've added some additional landscaping, replacing missing landscaping, and adding that wing wall as well. There was one kind of outstanding concern with their truck routing plan, which added basically the trucks leaving the south side of the warehouse if they were headed south on Harlem, so towards I-80. They would basically have to swing out into an additional lane to make that turn. So they're still working with engineering on those aspects. Like any of our approvals, we condition this on final engineering approval, and that's one of the items they're working through to figure out either the right radius or the right turning level to work there. So, and that's one of the concerns that came out of the workshop. Make sure they get that. I think they heard it, and they're working on that. We've conditioned the approval with that in mind. With this, our code kind of limits what some of the outdoor sales displays can do, but we like approving these. If they have a plan to do it, we'd rather approve it as kind of part of the site plan and have it in mind about where it'll be, how it'll be run. Pete's does a lot of kind of outdoor sales displays throughout the year, where our village code really only limits it between kind of April and October, but they do December and winter stuff. So they kind of have, with the PUD, requested to open that up a little bit, but they've really planned for it within the site themselves of where those will be kind of out of the way at the entrance to the stores. And they kind of make it an inviting way to kind of enter the store from the outside. So the areas depicted on the plan, on the site plan, and the limit for the height of the display is 5 feet in height. So they'll be able to have a little bit more out there than is typically allowed by the code. So again, not too many concerns with that in the workshop due to their planning of the locations. From a site plan perspective, we kind of worked through all of the issues that were kind of outstanding there. From an architectural perspective, the building's pretty unique here. I think we're getting a kind of one of their premier sites here, especially with it being a new build from the ground up and not a retrofit of an existing building. So they've done some pretty cool aspects and work here on the front facade of the building to make it look fairly modern. They've also worked to kind of tie in with, one, the warehouse building and how they painted that, as well as the existing Sam's Club, which is going to be next to it and has a pretty strong presence there. And they kind of have the grays, the kind of more modern look there. So, I think Paula probably did this architectural. She could probably explain it better than me as she did at the workshop. But there was not too many concerns about it. I think she worked through it pretty well to make sure we had some pretty high quality materials, good looks, different aspects, make it look intriguing, and still kind of fit with what Pizza's doing with their corporate themes. And then the inline tenants as well are kind of designed to roll into that with similar materials, similar look, but give it a little more neutral facade, as you might have a couple different tenants in that space. And then here's one aspect of just kind of the rear facade of the building, and that's where you can see the additional kind of landscaping that'll be on the west side here. then the small parking area that's really kind of designated for employee parking, and then an additional row of landscaping that wasn't in there to kind of, again, help create a second level of buffer. The drive aisle and then the docks in the building would be there as you move west. So, and this is facing north towards the building, so. I don't think we have materials here, but they have supplied the kind of sample board of what they're trying to do out there. A lot of different materials, textures that they're trying to work with. For the rear facade, they've worked on screening the trash enclosures as well, and do some matching wing walls there that'll help hide those. The kind of one of the main concerns that came out of the workshop was the rooftop mechanical equipment and the visibility of that equipment from any of the neighboring properties or from Harlem Avenue. So they worked through that a little bit and kind of reanalyzed where those rooftop units would be, kind of readjusting them a little bit, pushing them back, because there's quite a distance from Harlem Avenue, so it actually makes it a little bit harder to screen than something that's going to be really close to it. So they've worked with those units and worked with a sightline scheme here to make sure any of the rooftop equipment will have screening from that rooftop parapet. So if you see it from Harlem or any of the adjacent properties, it'll be screened. The existing warehouse space, again, largely kind of staying the same, the old Kmart building, but they have done kind of a small addition on the north side of that, which can be offices and warehouse additions there. Lighting will be consistent across this in the buildings and in the parking lot with LED lights, and they've exceeded our code by making sure that it's 0-foot candles at the property line, particularly to the west of this, where the neighbors are. From a landscape architectural standpoint, they've done some pretty strong improvements here from what's out there now, which is really just a few kind of end islands. They've created a long kind of 24-foot by 260-foot landscape island that kind of bisects that parking area, breaks up the monotony in the large parking lot out there, and then also has the sidewalk that connects over to Harlem in there as well. They've increased some of the calibers of trees, particularly along areas where there's high visibility, so to the west and near Harlem Avenue. The screening of the dock areas, again, was prioritized with evergreen plantings, so that's where they've proposed year-round evergreen screening along the west side. So that way it's not only screened during fall, but also during winter. There is a fence that runs along that west property line that's in need of repair, so we've conditioned the approvals upon repair and replacement of that existing fence to ensure it lives and continues to buffer the views to the west. Signage-wise, they've requested some relief through the PUD for the height and the size of the sign, but it's generally in line with the developments that are the size. So the Tinley Park Plaza Shopping Center, Sam's Club Shopping Center, those all have the similar height limit of 20 feet. And then they've asked for 256 square feet of signage here. And originally this was at 25 feet with the height of the sign, but they've again kind of redeveloped that and brought it back into where our precedent was set in this corridor at 20 feet for these large anchor commercial tenants that are through Lastly is kind of the plat of subdivision, which works through consolidating the 3 lots that are out there, as well as do any of the easement dedications, as well as in it is the plat of vacation for part of an access easement that was in the old plans. So all that's kind of rolled into the plat here that would consolidate all these into kind of a single parcel out there with easements. And again, that's still kind of under review with engineering, and we've conditioned that to be final with engineering approval. And I think that's about it. Paul probably did a better job than me, but I'll leave it up to you guys to see if you have any other questions. The petitioner's here as well to answer any questions or present.
Sure. Well done, Dan. At this time, does the applicant or petitioner have anything to add this time? Okay. Seeing that he does not, I'm just recognizing that he does not. At this time, I'm going to ask the commissioners if they have any further comments for discussion. I'll begin with Commissioner Vick.
No, nothing additional since the, the last meeting there on this. I just say with those conditions, yeah, they definitely just need to be met and in place before anything is done there, and working through the engineering stuff like they've already stated. So I think it's going to be a good addition to the area.
Okay, thanks. Commissioner Manny.
For me, no further comments, just echoing Commissioner Vick, it's going to be a great, great development, to this area.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Gaskell.
No comment from me.
Commissioner Lusciuto.
I just want to say I agree with my fellow commissioners that this will be a great addition to the area.
Okay. Just some comments from the workshop too, is I do like the shift of the building further east of the property, of that west property line. I think the layout is excellent. I have it up here. I love the color copy of the foot traffic path. I think that's a big improvement from what's out there. And I think it'll be very friendly for pedestrians. And I do, this staff report had the rear portion of the building. It was kind of a mock-up, but I do like that. I think that's very appealing. I think it was on page 10 of our report. But yeah, if you keep going back, Dan. I think there's appropriate screening, and as staff mentioned, with the foot candles at the west property line being 0, there shouldn't be any spillage over, but I think there's a good enough screening and buffer, that little island, and then, of course, the trees, and there's fencing past that. And since this is going to be worker parking there, I think it'll keep some of that noise down to a minimum, because you're not going to have the general public parking back there too. So I just think the site layout is very well done. I know there are some things, I think Commissioner Vick mentioned that, conditions of approval, like those rooftop units, and then that south turning lane. But my understanding is the petitioners are working with the village engineer. So if those are, those are conditions of being approved, if they work it out, I see no other impediment to that. But those are just my comments. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak at this time? If you could please approach, write your name in the book, and then also please tell us your name, and I'll have to swear you in.
Lynn and Jim Romanengi, we live at 16243 Lake Villa Avenue.
And
This picture of this car, oh, you gotta swear us in?
yeah.
But, are we sworn in?
Oh, no, I'm going to swear you in. I'm sorry. And your wife's name's Lynn?
Lynn.
Lynn and Jim. Okay.
Right.
Thanks, Jim. So if you guys can hold your right hand up, do you swear or affirm that the evidence that you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. ahead.
You know, you say that because it's employee parking, there'll be no problem with sound. Our biggest problem when Kmart was there was the employees coming out who were parked closest right there and blasting their radios as they were smoking. And I mean, we called the police literally 2 to 4 times a month.
It's crazy.
So then either Pete's Market has to say, you can't go out to your car or you cannot play your radio. Because they run their radio in their car and they move,
just hear it
and it
pounding through it.
pound,
It just
pound,
echoes
pound,
through the
pound.
house.
It was horrible. I mean, we literally called the police 2 to 4 times a month to get them to stop. Or I would go out in my coat and, tell them, could you turn off your radio? So, no, that's a problem, that parking lot. I know you thought by moving it, it would make it better. That actually is going to be terrible because a lot of them kids are young kids. So they're, going out to their car to slam on their radios. And it happened constantly at
Not only
Kmart.
that, the picture where them cars are at, literally, our house is like 30 feet from there, the back of our house. It's that close. And in that lane, just to the east of the little strip of grass you got in there, them trucks are gonna be sitting there, running. Well, the delivery trucks.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna be pulling into a dock, yes, and then,
Yeah, they'll be sitting there
Beeping And
running.
the backing up, the backup signals.
You guys don't
It
care
just
about the
goes-
people in Tinley Park. You
Wait,
care
wait,
about the
wait,
bucks and
wait.
how pretty it looks from Harlem.
And then the other thing is, you took the rooftop units, and I assumed you moved them west on the roof.
I think they condensed them in the.
They didn't move them back? I thought you moved them back
They
from
moved them
Harlem.
back from the front, so that first
From the
line-
front.
Yeah.
And
So
see,
the
we-
head line is moved in, yeah,
we-
but
I
it's
was a
not
sheet
all.
metal worker for 43 years. I installed rooftop units for 43 years. I know how loud they are.
And they hum
And they
constantly.
drone. And it's just,
You're
I don't know what to
ruining
do.
our lives, and I know you don't care. So you know what, then what you should do and make Pete's Market do, those couple houses that are right behind us, make them soundproof our back windows. It'll cost about $5,000 a house and they can soundproof our back windows and then we can live there. Otherwise, it's going to be horrible. It's going to be worse than Kmart.
let me add something. When we walked in the door, the flagpoles are out there, you hear that clank?
Clank, clank, clank.
If the wind's blowing in the steel eyelets are hitting the steel pole. You can't believe how loud that was in our house.
Right. We'd have to call
And same with
Kmart and say,
Kmart.
tighten them up, tighten them up.
Quite a ways away.
It was horrible while we were
And it
there.
just echoes, it reverberates in your house. You can't believe how loud it is.
So,
I'm not making this up, I'm just, I don't wanna be here. I don't even
yeah,
wanna.
I mean, we
don't
like where we
wanna be here.
live. We like Tinley Park. We've lived here our whole lives, but you guys have not made it easy, I'll tell you. By going, oh, well, this'll work. It's gonna be horrible for the people who are right behind Pete's Market. And if you remember, Sam's, before Sam's, whatever that was, those people that lived behind it sued to have that air conditioning moved to the front of that building. They
they had-
sued and they won
And
and
they
had
put
it.
the walls up on them too, sound
Yeah,
deadening walls. or
sound,
whatever-
yeah. I
whatever
mean,
they
you
did,
guys
but-
should, at least those couple of, there's like 3 buildings that are directly behind it, that Pete's Market should do something for us. Soundproof our windows, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4 windows. Soundproof them, to make it
The other thing is,
possible to still live there.
We have to live with 2 years.
Yeah, well, 1, 2,
Excuse
3,
me, excuse
4,
me.
5, 6, sorry.
Yeah, we have to live with 2 years of construction, trucks, hammering, pounding, jackhammers, cement trucks. I know what it's all about. It's gonna be constant for 2 years.
And we're old. We need sleep, we
hearing's
need
worse,
to,
the hearing works.
but we're retired, so we're home. At least when Kmart was there, we were working and gone the whole day. But now we're gonna be there the whole day for all of that. I really think Pete's Market should, at least those 3, should soundproof at least those windows in the back and the upper level, because that's where it comes in.
It comes in
At least
all
our
over.
garden is a little better because, you've got some dirt there and you've got the trees. They also should be putting up a cinder block wall like they do at expressways to deaden the noise. But they've got to do something about that parking lot, because we are going to be calling the police constantly, and the police then hate us. And you can't blame them, we're constant, and that by the time they get there, you know, it's 15 minutes later, their break's over and they go back into the store.
It's just gonna be loud for 2 years, plus then the traffic that's
The
gonna be
trucks,
constantly coming through there, trucks
I mean,
idling.
we didn't have that with Kmart. The only time we had trucks is if they would come around the side and idle there, and we would call the cops, and they said, no, you can't do that, it's illegal, they had to stop it.
So they pulled around to the south side of Kmart, where the docks are at, and they parked over there.
Right.
Which helped. You didn't hear them, you didn't hear them.
But this is gonna be right behind us.
So that's our concern.
We are, you know, afraid that we're gonna have to sell our house and move somewhere else when we really don't want to. I mean, this could be a good thing for many of the older people who live in, not only that, but in Bremen Town behind us that have a store to walk to, that's nice. But if you're gonna kill us with sound, people can't live there, especially those first 3 buildings that are gonna be right behind the thing. Pete's Market should be made to do something for us, soundproof our windows. It's not all that much money, and it'd be worth that to them, because you know what? I'm retired, and I'm not yet demented, so I will take them to court continuously. I will be one of those litigious type people if they aren't gonna do something for us.
Something to think about.
Any comments from the commissioners regarding?
The litigant wants to, or the.
Oh, sure, yep.
Yeah, what is it?
Hi, my name is Richard Howes. Let me sign in
Yeah,
here.
please sign in. And can I swear you in as well?
Yes,
Do you swear or affirm that the evidence that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
yes, I will. I also live in Park Place Villa at 161 37 Lake Villa Avenue. Let me fill out the paperwork here.
Sure, no problem.
And I just want to chime in what Lynn and Jim said. I live right behind where they're putting this thing up, and I'm all in favor of Pete's Market. But are they going to be governed by the quiet rules of Tinley Park, where after 10 o'clock, they've got to be quiet?
Yeah, I believe that was, staff can help out on that. I thought the hours for any deliveries was it 7 a.m. to 10 p.m.? But I think it was going to be a tighter window.
Yeah, I think it's 7 to 10, but I think they, and I can maybe let them respond a little bit better to it. But
Okay.
I think they did at the last meeting say that honestly, it's more like 6 to 8 that they're done with the trucks.
Yeah.
Construction as well would end by 10 o'clock.
Yeah,
And
that's-
it's usually well earlier than that.
That's-
And I
that's-
think they've been.
Construction's gonna go to 10 o'clock at night?
No, he said
Yeah,
7.
I think they can better respond to
Uh,
trucks.
Well, you'd have to swear in as the petitioner.
Answer the question, I can help answer the question.
Yeah, let me swear you in. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And if you could state your name just for record.
Eugene Zukovich.
Okay, go ahead, Eugene.
So our hours of operation are gonna be, for daily store operation is between 7 and 10 PM. For the
Okay.
store, once it opens. And the construction will start at 7 AM and will finish up no later than 5 PM. And if there's a reason why we have to go a little bit longer with deliveries or some activity that's pressing, say we're working on a water main or something like that, I would notify the village and let them know that we might be out there, a couple more hours more than that.
Yeah. My point is that that's fine, but after 10 PM is quiet time in Tinley Park, and we know from Sam's Club, they don't listen. There's always noise down there at Sam's. Now, I don't live right behind Sam's Club, but I know the people that do. And they're always complaining about, it's been better lately, but my concern is nighttime noise, like you've said. They go back there and they turn up their radios and they're drinking or whatever, I don't know, they're partying, they're young people. But most of the people in our neighborhood are older people. And a lot of them are in bed at 8 o'clock. My neighbor's 91, his neighbor's 86, I'm 74. And we just want our quiet time, is what it is. And whether you have to put up a sound barrier, you said they were gonna take down fence that's there? Because,
Yeah, they're repairing and replacing what's out there to make it actually be a solid fence that's
yeah,
not
because
anchored
that,
down the way.
that,
That's for aesthetics, right?
And to make it structurally sound, so that way.
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's, because that fence there is like putting a sieve up for a dam. You know,
Yeah.
'cause you know, like stretched concrete or something like that would be nice. Like they do, like she said, like they do on the highways. Or if Sam's will do it, they'll soundproof the windows. It'll keep, our Pete's Market, yeah.
So what I'd like to offer something there, so with our employees, so we did, in consideration for our truck movements and to alleviate some of that noise, we did move the building to the east.
Yes.
And putting our employee parking dedicated to the back of the lots. I'm sorry what you went through with Kmart and their employees. We're a completely different operation.
Yeah.
Our employees will not be out in their cars, they will not be smoking, they will not be playing loud music. We police that.
Okay.
Our managers, I'm not telling you a story, our managers police this, we enforce it. We encourage our employees to be, we have employee break rooms, we have employee dining, interior and exterior, so we encourage them to use that.
Okay.
And they do.
Yeah. You're the owner of Pete's?
No,
No.
Representative.
Representative.
I can't speak to what Kmart did and why they did and things like that. I understand your concerns completely. We're gonna look at some things and I'll talk with the village as far as why we did this, noise
Yeah.
decibels, our mechanical equipment as well. We use different systems than most people use. Our condenser units are low horsepower, so they don't have that resonating sound that others. I'm not saying they don't make noise, they do.
That's why we wanted them. I'm sorry that people on Harlem might see them, but it's better than us having to live
Well,
with them.
this whole site thing is a whole different thing as far as, concealing them or, put screening around them. And that's what the village sightline exhibit is really for. Doesn't mean it's from Harlem, from your view, or
Yeah, we
from
don't
Sam's
have to
view, it doesn't
see
matter,
it. We
right?
just don't
It's
Yeah.
just a matter of
hear it.
screening the units.
Well,
I mean, that low tone, that low hum is
Sure.
literally used as torture
Sure,
in,
Yeah.
certain countries.
No, I understand your concerns. And like, we have a store in Willowbrook. We don't have the distance that we have here. We're probably about 95 feet. We have a fence, a wood fence, which is about 8 feet tall. We have our trucks, we have our units on the roof, and there's residences right there. And we've not had one complaint.
okay. That's good. But my question was, are they governed by the same rules for quiet hour?
Yes.
Yes, they are. That's all I need to know. Thank you.
Our delivery stopped by 5 p.m. They stopped by 5 p.m.
Miss, would you like to speak?
Go ahead.
Are you sure?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi.
Hi. Could you state your name and then I'll swear you in?
Yes,
And
I'm
write it
Julie.
down as well.
I'm Juliana Massio, and I live at 162, 115 Lake Villa, so I am directly behind it all.
Okay. So I'm going to swear you in. Juliana, do you swear to affirm that the evidence you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, proceed.
That is my biggest problem, or not problem. That my biggest concern is just enjoyment of life and not having a lot of truck traffic. I believe that what you're doing is everything you possibly can do, but I can tell you now, if I'm laying in bed at night and it's 10 o'clock, I hear empty trucks, like ba-boom, 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 all the way through that parking lot that's empty. And yeah, they're not coming from your store. They're coming from perhaps Sam's or wherever else. But it's very, very noisy. So that is my biggest concern. And that is after 10 o'clock at night. There's a lot of drag racing that goes through there too. Of course, that's all probably gonna stop, which is a really great thing. I'm really glad that you're coming to improve the neighborhood and everything, but it's just, enjoyment of life, that's all it is. And I just wanna make sure that, they keep that in mind. And I know it's really expensive to put up a sound barrier type wall, but I wish you would think about it.
There's different ways of controlling sound, and as I was saying earlier, it's through the types of equipment that we use, our racks, our condensers, our RTU units. We use the best technology out there. We've even done some of our own implementation to different equipment that people have taken on to lower that noise.
Okay.
And part of that has to do with efficiency. A large part of it's about efficiency.
Okay.
As long as we're looking at the landscaping, there's different things we can do with different type of trees that offer better sound absorption, so we'll look at that as well. We'll do some decibel, we've done some already for the village, and we can look at a little bit harder. But I think now that we've moved the building, we can revisit that exercise. A buffer wall or a sound absorption wall, it all depends, again, distance, noise, heights. This wall might have to be a height, I'm not saying it is, it could be a height of 12 to 14 feet tall. Something you may not want to see. I'm not saying it is. I am not saying it is, but it could be. If you look at highway walls, they're very tall and they have homes behind them, but they're tall for that reason. That sound needs to go and go up. Right. So you may want that to go away, but you may have this gigantic.
I don't have a view anyway.
Yeah, I would not say we're offering to put that in. We will look at different measures to help control that.
I just would, hope that it's done right from the get-go, rather than to have something, rather than to have people want to take you to court.
Right. We've been very, very open to listen to the village concerns. We've engaged in doing what they've asked, and vice versa. So we've been working very well hand in hand. When we come to an area, we're part of the community. So we don't want you to, to feel like we didn't think about you. And
obviously you have.
To move the building is to do that. Adding the crosswalks, controlling our truck traffic for the warehouse. All these things have been accomplished.
All right.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'll finish this.
Sure, go ahead, Joe.
The thing is, the 2 years of construction with all the noise that's gonna be. You're gonna have bulldozers back there, backhoes, everything.
More than anything, it's the beep, 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 beep of the, my God.
Thank you.
You'll have a suicide jump rate right down.
Especially with all the old people.
Yes, it'll be like, no, our relatives will be killing us, we'll be so cramped.
But I do want to comment, the petitioner has been open about revisiting a decibel study after hearing the neighbors' concerns with the noise. I think that's a reasonable thing to revisit, right, in terms of, they did move the building further away, and the petitioner seems open to looking at least different type of trees that may be more absorptive towards the sound that's emanating. He's expressed, Eugene has expressed that there's different technology they use in the RTU units, or RTUs, I guess, not to be redundant. So I do think that the appearance from the petitioner is that he is willing to, he hears your concerns, he's willing to, as Lynn mentioned, do it now rather than somewhere else down the line. So I think that's actually a very commendable thing that you're willing to tweak for the sake of the neighbors on the back there. And to the petitioner's point, they are not Kmart, right? And we know, and I would patron Kmart, especially towards the later years. It wasn't really being managed up to snuff.
It wasn't.
That was another thing, question. We've got that, which is nice, that everybody can walk to, you know, that'll be wonderful for,
The
you know.
sidewalk that leads in the parking lot for us.
But the problem was the garbage.
The garbage
That,
there.
oh my gosh, when Kmart was there, I mean, it literally, I would go out with bags and
The
gloves.
the
and
lake that's
clean
there
up
was
around it.
full of trash with the shopping
One
carts
Kmart
junk
was there.
stuffed in there.
Yeah, and I can attest Kmart's a terrible. I mean, Pete's had to buy it from them, but I worked in Hoffman Estates before
But so
this,
you
and we
can
had to
say
deal
you'll
with them
clean
there.
up, you'll be
And it's
responsible
such
for
a,
that.
If you
it was
visit
such
any
a
of our
big
stores,
company, it was hard to get a hold of anybody. We still have land they own in town, and we can't
We
get
have
a hold
people
of them,
throughout,
so.
our people that are pulling the carts.
Pete's has been much more receptive to, we can call Eugene, who picks up our calls,
I gotta
the
tell you
manager
one
as well,
thing.
so.
That it was at night, it was in the wintertime, and I heard this guy's radio. I said, well, he's gotta be right behind the house.
Yeah.
I'll just put my coat on, knock on the door and say, hey, turn that thing off, would you? I walked halfway across that parking lot, I couldn't find a car, you can hear. He was like literally 250 yards away from our house, yards. And it's coming through the windows, it's going,
I hear you, I hear you. So
It
one
was
thing we do too in
crazy.
the villages is that, we'll work with the village police, and the chief of police, and we'll have, an agreement set as far as what kind of policing we want them to do. Even as we engage now with the, we're using the warehouse, currently,
Right.
and I don't think you have too much impact from us now.
No, not right now.
So we've implemented speed limit signs throughout that main drive lane as well. We've already added security cameras onto the building. All of our stores, interior, exterior, this particular development will probably have 200 cameras,
Wow.
inside, outside. So we are very big on security, we're very big on our customer base. We want to make sure that everyone's feels safe. It's safe for you, it's safe for our employees, it's safe for the people that try to fraudulently create claims.
Question, would it be possible, because on the west side of the fence, on our side of the fence, if you will, it's all pine trees. And many of them are dead or thinned out, or
they've been thinned out
they,
just last
they've
year.
talked about cutting them down. Would Pete's
Who's
do
they?
that?
Who's
The,
Our association.
our association,
Oh.
Park Place Villas.
I've never been behind your fence, so I'd have to take a look, and I'd have to have
Yeah.
some, our,
Some
deal
of-
with an arborist and landscape architect, I could take a look at some things.
Yeah, well-
I'm not promising anything, and let me look at it and see what we can
Yeah, it's,
offer.
because the trees are old and a lot of them have been
Sure.
down. You know, just an idea.
I got you, I got you.
Okay, guys, I'm going to rein this in just so, because we're having a few separate conversations at once. But I do want to just at least have like a call to action for further discussions between staff and the petitioner's representative. From what Eugene, what you've said to me and the commission here today, and to some of the local residents, it sounds like you're willing to explore some alternatives. No promises, of course, but like you can at least, as a good neighbor policy, explore some of the things that were talked about today. So with that, I am going.
Excuse me one second.
Yeah, I was going to ask the commission if they have any comments. So go ahead,
Jumped
Commissioner
ahead.
Vick.
Hey, look at that. So one thing I heard from the residents here was just, is there anything for the trucks when they're delivering to the store itself? Is there any rules that you guys have about their idling back there versus shutting them down and then
It all depends
restarting?
on what kind of truck. If it's a dry goods truck, the truck will pull in and it shuts down, and then the truck gets unloaded.
Yeah.
If they're refrigerated trucks that are delivering load, those trucks, of course, because they're carrying perishable goods, they're gonna stay running. But they have a shut off, so the engine can shut down,
Yeah.
and then the compressor for the cooling will stay,
Yeah.
will keep that cool. So it's us delivering to us. So our goal is, of course, to get our load unloaded as quickly as we can and get the truck out. We don't just leave trucks hanging around. Now, they brought up a point that should be looked at is gonna be Sam's Club. Since I've been out there, there's a lot of different trucks that deliver to that location. FedEx trucks, Sam's trucks, all different kind of trucks. We're not gonna be able to control those trucks, so it's something that the village, that's gonna have to look at that, and maybe their routing, maybe their hours of delivery as well. I'm telling you what our hours are, but I don't want you to be, we saw these trucks, it's not gonna be Pete's.
No.
I'm telling you, that's not our operation. So.
Oh, that's what I was gonna ask, just because I don't know, we had, like, it was like 10 o'clock at night that they were jackhammering behind us, this was a couple months ago, and we went back there to say, what are you doing? I mean, it was just ridiculously loud. Well, they said there was a drainage problem, and it was coming from Sam's. And I'm
drainage
concerned,
ditch.
it was literally right behind our, which, we're the first townhouse there. So there's not a drainage problem, right? I mean, what?
Well, that's
they-
gonna be all redone. They're gonna have their own system set
Well,
up.
okay, that's what I mean. You'll
I got
have
nothing to
your-
do with Sims.
Right.
Right, but I mean, so you don't, there's no drainage, like,
No.
issues in that area? for
Not that I'm aware of,
big
but I'm,
things?
well, again, this is regarding Pete's Fresh Market, and so I'm not sure about the Sam's location.
Okay, but let me just
If they're-
reiterate one thing. Before any construction gets started, can we have all these issues resolved before the first shovel hits the asphalt?
Or can at least be, you tell us what you're gonna do for us?
We're very proactive in our responses, so I'll be working with the village. I'll be engaging actually my architect and a couple other people this evening when I leave.
Okay.
We're not gonna get a response to the village,
Oh.
of course, tomorrow.
Right. Of
But
course.
by early next week, I'll have something into the village. We're under a timeline as well, so it's of my importance to get the information over to the village. I'm not promising anything. I'm gonna look at measures. I'm not gonna put a false measure up that's not gonna do any good.
Right.
But I will propose, if we have some solutions, I will propose them to the village.
And we can, if you have your phone numbers, if you want to leave your emails too, that can all be useful, and we can get back in touch with you guys and just let you know what's happening.
Are they going to tear down the old Aldi building?
No, that's a separate plot.
Oh, that's, okay. You're not gonna touch that?
We do
No,
have,
that's-
it's a very odd the way this was kind of broken apart, but there's a green space there by the Aldi,
Yes.
that is ours.
Okay.
But the Aldi is not ours.
Oh, okay.
The old building.
The old building.
We have a lot of, my concern more even than the trucks running, which is not pleasant, but the beep, 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 when you have
Way
the
back
small
You know, the
trucks.
beep, beep, beep is a compliance.
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
that's
Safety
why
compliance.
that's why we're begging you to spend the money to put some kind of sound barrier, because that will be horrible.
I'm going to ask if there's any further comments to please come up to the lectern, only because then you can talk into the audio system for the recording, since this is being live streamed. At this time, I'm going to ask if any other commissioners have any comments with this new information that was discussed.
Yes, I just want to just, for the residents, I do appreciate coming out and giving us your exact, challenges, having this development coming in. And then I want to, again, for the petitioner, his trying to mitigate the sound, try to level, lower the decibel, whatever measures, I think that's, again, being like the chairman indicated, like the good neighbor, so it's great when we try to, work together about it instead of having just the development coming in and not caring about the community. So I see, good faith in the petitioner, so hopefully, like how you mentioned, he'll try to look into see what he can do, what can be done. And then working with staff, I think, that's something that, at least, meeting of the minds, and trying to mitigate, the sound issues. And then for construction, yeah, that's kind of like, it's hard to mitigate that, construction is construction. It's loud, but we just have to hope, okay, hopefully they're on time or ahead of schedule, and it'll just be, done quicker,
Yeah, because if I lived on the other end of the block, I wouldn't care.
Right. No, yeah, I mean, Rick, you're right there, or around the block, but still, it's a community
Yeah,
issue.
I understand.
And, I believe,
Location,
again, the petitioners,
location.
all in good faith,
Yeah.
that he wants, again, like how you mentioned, he wants to make his customers,
And they've
shop
limited the
in store.
construction hours more than we even do, so I, part of it is that
We're that last.
construction happens, it's the way we have, we have it going on
I
in
just
downtown.
want to remind you guys, though, it's you guys that are breaking your own regulations to do this. I mean, you had regulations against this, and you decided, well, this is better for the community, and that's fine, but that breaking of regulations does impact people, and that's what you just kind of have to remember.
Okay, any other comments from the commissioners? Okay. Well, at this time, I'm going to ask if there's no further questions or discussion, may I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So move.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Manny, seconded by Commissioner Vick. All those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion is carried. Staff, can you please present the standards at this time?
Sure. 1 second. I'm gonna go all the way back. So the standards for a special use, this is for the PUD deviation, the change to the PUD, it covers that the proposed exceptions and the substantial deviation are safe for the public, employees, and neighboring properties. That the special use, that the additional commercial space adds additional shopping options for neighboring residents. Trucks and deliveries have been set back and screened accordingly, and heavy landscape buffering has been installed, and mechanical units will be screened from view. That neighboring properties are already developed and the proposal doesn't negatively affect any future development or redevelopment of the neighboring properties. That the site is already developed with adequate utilities and no additional utilities are needed for the parking lot. Stormwater drainage facilities have also been planned and will meet all regulations with the new development. That the site layout is designed to allow for a safe circulation of delivery trucks, employees, and the general public within the site and on to public streets. That all other village requirements and codes will be met, and that the addition allows for Pete's Fresh Market to operate a newly constructed grocery store that provides additional grocery options, employs people within the community, provides additional tax benefits to various local governments, and produces benefits not being produced currently by a vacant site. And then we don't have findings for the site standards, but we have reviewed those overall with the staff report and within our staff review, as well as the architectural review standards that we went through.
Okay. Thanks, Dan.
Yep.
At this time, may I have a motion number 1 for, regarding special use for a substantial deviation?
I'll make the motion to recommend that the village board grant a special use permit for a substantial deviation from the Park Place PUD with exceptions from the zoning ordinance to the petitioner, Petros, sorry if I'm butchering the name here, Drimonas, of Pete's Fresh Market, on behalf of the 163rd and Harlem LLC property owner, to permit additional building development and lot changes at 16300 Harlem Avenue in the B3 PD, General Business and Commercial Park Place PUD zoning district, in accordance with the plan submitted, and adopt findings of fact as proposed by the village staff in the June 3rd, 2021 staff report.
Do I hear-
Second.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Vick, seconded by Commissioner Gaskell. Lori, could I have a roll call at this time?
Commissioner Manny?
Yes.
Commissioner Gaskell?
Yes.
Commissioner Vick?
Yes.
Commissioner Lucido?
Yes.
Chairman Gray?
Yes. Okay, the motion is carried. Now may I have a motion number 2 regarding the site plan and architectural approval?
I want to make a motion to grant the petitioner, Petros Dramanos of Pete's Fresh Market, on behalf of 163rd and Harlem LLC, property owner, final site plan and architectural approvals to construct Phase 2 and Phase 3 of the redevelopment, including a new 140,439 square foot commercial building and expansion of the warehouse buildings with various site changes at 16300 Harlem Avenue in the B3 PD General Business and Commercial Park Place PUD zoning district in accordance with the plans submitted and subject to the following conditions. Number one, site plan approval is subject to the approval of the special use for a substantial deviation from the PUD and final plat by the village board. Number two, site plan approval is subject to final engineering plan review and approval, including truck turning at the southernmost driveway along Harlem Avenue. And number three, site plan approval is subject to repair of the existing fence along the west property line by August 1st, 2021.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Lusciuto, seconded by Commissioner Vick. Lori, may I have a roll call at this time?
Commissioner Manning?
Yes.
Commissioner Gasco?
Yes.
Commissioner Vick?
Yes.
Commissioner Lusciuto?
Yes.
Chairman Gray?
Yes. Okay, the motion is carried. Now may I have a motion number 3 regarding the final plat?
I'll make a motion to recommend that the village board grant approval to the petitioner Petros Drimonas of Peach Fest Market on behalf of 163rd Harlem LLC property owner, final plat of subdivision approval for the 163rd and Harlem LLC subdivision in accordance with the final plat submitted and dated 5/27/2021, subject to the condition that the approval is subject to final engineering plan approval by the village engineer.
A second.
Okay, a motion made by Commissioner Manny, seconded by Commissioner Lusciuto. Lori, if you could take a roll call.
Commissioner Manning?
Yes.
Commissioner Gasco?
Yes.
Commissioner Vick?
Yes.
Commissioner Lusciuto?
Yes.
Chairman Gray?
Yes. Okay, the motion is carried. This item, just clarify, Dan, this item will go to the village board Tuesday, July 7th, 2021? I think
That's gonna change a little bit, so, at this point, I believe it's gonna be August 3rd,
Okay.
potentially, for this.
August 3rd. Okay, so this item will go to the village board on August 3rd, 2021. So the petitioner and then the residents, if you want to be in attendance, please do so.
And we'll stay in contact with you guys, and we'll stay in contact with you, Jane, so we can let you know what's been worked on and what changes and what we can do.
That'd be nice.
Okay.
So if you guys left your phone numbers up there, I'll make sure to stay in contact.
Email.
Email's my favorite too, so.
Nobody talks anymore.
We're all on different schedules, so.
And we always appreciate the public coming out and giving their comments because that's where we're doing development, so. At this time, I'm going to ask if there's any more comments from the public?
Hey, Chairman.
Yes.
I just have one
Commissioner Vick.
question, and Dan, does the change of that board meeting gonna affect the motion number 2 with that date for the fence of August 1st?
Good call.
Yeah, I mean, we can, I guess, remain flexible, since that won't be approved. We'll work with them and see what their timeline is on it. But I think they were already kind of working on that to get that repaired, but we'll.
One thing on the fence, guys, is that we're gonna be, repairing the fence.
Right.
Yes.
Some of the fence, in our opinion, might be replaced. Problem is lumber. Lumber's very hard to get at this time.
Very expensive.
So, we will repair, so you understand, any other remediation to the fence, would be throughout the construction process.
Yeah, and right now, you can't, I don't even think, get a fence company to come out and do your yard if you want to do. That would be next year or the year after that. But we'll work with them to make sure it's repaired safe, and up, and then any replacement, like I said, like you
Right.
said, happens during kind of that construction process, if it has to happen.
Okay. So last call, any more comments from the public? Okay,
Excuse me?
yes.
They said it would take 2 years. Is that the correct timeline?
Especially right now, because materials are very long lead, hard to get.
Oh, okay.
Structural steel is out there. We're not talking price, we're just talking procurement of materials. Our cases, there's a problem in the industry with foam and all kinds of stuff, so we need to have that time out there in order to, it could be much sooner if things get better. We all hope things get better.
Do you have a tentative start date?
It'll be based on the final approvals.
Okay.
So our construction documents are already in with the village, so it's gonna be based on the final approvals, and then we'll engage construction.
Yeah, they wanted to move relatively quick, so we sometimes will start, it's at their own risk, we kind of start the review of the building plans and stuff, because that can take longer than this process. There's a lot to review there, so they've already been working on that, so that way they can at least be ready to go with, start doing foundation work and things like that, so that way, if that can get done before winter, it gives them options.
I'm just anxious to go to Pete's Market and not go to Ridgeview.
Yeah, I was it'll be a good addition out there, I
Yeah.
think for sure.
They are impressive stores. They're
Yeah.
almost overwhelming.
And like I said, I said this before, at the last meeting, remember, I think, I used to go to Mariano's, I feel like that's done. That's changed with Kroger's acquisition of it, and so
Yes.
I think I'm gonna be shopping at Pete's on my way home, because they have a good operation going, so hopefully they don't sell to Kroger.
Okay. Well, we'll move on from public comments to good of the order. Staff, do you have anything to present on the good of the order at this time?
Just a couple quick notes. The Floor and Decor and the Bettinardi project, expansion projects, with the parking lot, those were both approved at the village board. So good to see. Floor and Decor has already got their, permits, I think, almost ready for approval. So that's going into, basically the moment that Burlington moves over to their new space on Harlem, they're gonna get going on on that space, to convert it to Floor and Decor. So it's good to see it's a little bit of musical chairs, but it's good to see, somebody going in there right away, and doing some facade upgrades, cause I think that's, strongly needed. And then we're working with Hobby Lobby as well on their space, so they're planning on staying there. I know there was a lot of rumors they were leaving once they opened up the Orland one, but they seem fairly dedicated. It's actually one of their top stores, even with Orland open. So I think they're pretty set on staying at that location and doing some upgrades themselves on the facade, so.
Great, good. Good to hear.
The Scannell Industrial Development on Harlem as well, that's proposed to go to the village board on June 29th for its final approvals. And then a couple business notes would be Bang and Gavel opened their beer garden in the downtown, so if you went to the car show, like it seems like a lot of you did, they're open on Tuesdays, primarily because of that car show, and then they're open Thursday through Sunday out there as well, so.
I saw they were open Saturday, this past Saturday, so.
Yeah, they're
As
open.
early as that.
Yeah, they're open Thursday through Sunday now, so they've been open for a week or so now, and so that's and that's just the beer garden there. Then they're still working on plans for the inside,
Right.
Which has been a struggle due to materials cost as well as financing of this type of a business and coming out of a pandemic. So they're still pretty set on moving forward with everything, but they've had some struggles, and a lot of banks say we need to wait and see for the financing side of it. So hopefully that'll move forward here. And this is even showing some interest for them. So I think having the beer garden open is helping them move forward in general. So Side Street Tavern, we had a lot of questions about that since it closed. They reopened this week though, as under the brand of North and Main. So it's one of the same owners of Side Street, still owns it, and so they did some kind of upgrades on the inside, paint, changes to the furniture and stuff, so that's open. Have no idea how it is yet, but I'll let you know. The July 1st Plan Commission meeting is gonna be canceled, so the way we were able to work some things out, I kind of figured most people have holiday stuff they
Yeah.
might want to start, so we're going to combine a workshop and public hearing for lot subdivision and variations, so a fairly simple request. We're going to combine that workshop and public hearing at the July 15th meeting. So July 15th will be the next meeting, and we'll have that request and potentially a couple others on it as well. So,
Okay.
lots of stuff happening, so it's good to see the stuff happening in downtown, 159th and Harlem, getting rid of some vacancies, getting some new projects going. The two Starbucks projects we had, those are the one on Harlem and 171st by the 7-Eleven, and then the one on LaGrange, that's the old MB Financial. Those are both in for permits as well and should be started fairly soon, so. Lots of stuff happened.
Excellent, good, all good. With that, we'll move on to adjourning the meeting. May I have a motion to close the meeting?
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, I heard Commissioner, motion made by Commissioner Vick, seconded by Commissioner Lasciuto. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion is carried. This meeting is adjourned at 8:21. Have a good 4th of July, and everybody from the public, Jim, Lynn,